Hello, Facebook family. It's me. It's me, Shannon LaBruyere. I am live and loving it. Tonight on Sunday Night Live, I am here to help you thrive in change. And before we get too far in, I wanted you to meet Zippy. As you can tell, Zippy is not nearly as sweet as Ted the dog. Zippy the cat has, well, she's stronger-willed. Let's just put it that way. And her agenda is never to make my life easier, is it, Zip? So say hi, Zippy. Say hi. So she's the other four-footed member of our family. Hi, Richard Krieger. Say hi, Zippy. So yeah, you met Ted the dog a few weeks ago, and a couple of my coaching clients actually asked me, how come you're not showing everybody Zippy? So I wanted to introduce Zippy. See Zippy? She's a sweetie. My clients recognize Zippy because she has some kind of a issue in her upper respiratory, and so she breathes really loud and she snorts and snores like a trucker. So whenever I've got my headset on and I'm doing my coaching over the phone, they can always hear her sounding like a lawnmower in their ears. So they always know when Zippy's around. But anyway, Zippy, say goodbye. I'm going to get rid of her now, so you guys are going to have a blank screen for just a second. Oh, see? Say hi to Carol. Zippy is a sweet girl, but she's not much help during a Sunday Night Live broadcast. As you can tell, all she wants to do is leave. So, all right, Zippy, say bye, and we'll see if she comes back. She probably will at an inconvenient time when it will draw the most attention to her, because that's how cats are. But anyway, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. It is exciting to be able to talk today about, again, part of my journey, things that I've learned. Hi, Bob. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for jumping on. Learned a few things over the past, well, gosh, few years as it turns out. But don't worry, I won't spend a few years sharing them with you. Hi, Ken. I'm glad you jumped on. Shay, yay! Shay, did you get Hawaiian wedding cake today? Because whatever you posted on Facebook, that looked really, really good. So if you had some, eat a slice for me. How's that? Okay, so let me see. I've been thinking, want to throw this out there for you guys to be thinking about. I have been considering starting a 3-week training that anybody who would like to can join. I'm going to limit it to 10 people, and I'm not going to have it unless there are at least 5. So what I'm thinking of doing is having a Zoom conference where we can see each other online, looking at, say if you've got an iPad, or you could do it on your phone, but using a GoToWebinar or a Zoom conferencing, so we'd be able to see each other as a group and start tackling some self-leadership topics and take a deep dive. And it would be a great opportunity, if you've never worked with me, to jump on and commit to 3 weeks to see if you like what it feels like to discuss leadership topics in a group. We would definitely have opportunities for you to share some of your challenges, but I'd also be working from some really basic good stuff. And I'm thinking of starting with self-leadership. And what I was thinking of doing, considering, is having it on a Saturday morning from 8 until 9. I know it's summer. Rose, I'm glad you're here. Mike, I'm glad you jumped on. Gosh, it's so good to see you. I'm talking about having some group coaching is what it boils down to. Some leadership, self-leadership training, 3 weeks. And I'm thinking it'd be really, really reasonable, like $25 or something. But trying to get 5 to 10 people to join in and learn something about how to grow, how to lead, and then also have an opportunity to pick my brain if you've got some thinking partners, if you'd like a thinking partner for some of the issues that you're up against. So anyway, I'm thinking about that. If I decide to go through with it, I will definitely let you know. And if it's something you think you'd like, 3 weeks for an hour in a morning or maybe in an evening, talking about leadership, learning some new things, but also having a chance to work with a coach. If you've never done that before, this might be a great time for you to jump in. Let me know if it sounds good to you, and I'll make sure that you are the first to know if I decide to go ahead and start it. So, with no further ado, I'm going to brush all the zippy hairs off of my face because she's making me itch. I don't know why I involved her. All right, let's get started. It is Sunday, June 9th, and we are going to, June 9th, 2019, and we are going to talk about a plan. Brandy, glad you jumped on. Yay, Brandy's on a big adventure. Brandy and her whole family packed everything, or almost everything, into a moving van, and this weekend moved from Indianapolis to Tampa. And Brandy, I am so glad that you found a chance to jump on. All right, so I have a feeling that Brandy is going to know what I'm talking about because they had to make a plan and execute it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so I have been saying for a while that I'm going to write a book. I have been saying it as if it's true. Yes, I plan to write a book. I would say casually to a friend in a conversation, I think I'm going to write a book. Talking to my husband, I really need to write a book. Talking to my coach, I was thinking I needed to write a book. And I was thinking that it has been 2 years that I've been talking about writing a book. Hi, Julie. Glad to have you here. It turns out it has not been 2 years since I started talking about writing a book. It's been 3 years. 3 years I've been talking about writing a book. And for 3 years, I have done very, very little to actually make that happen. I know I am like a lot of you. You guys are a lot like me. I want you to think for a minute, what have you been saying you have been wanting to do that you were going to do and you still haven't done it? What is it for you? Is it a career thing? You're maybe going to go back to school and get a degree? You just haven't done it yet. Or maybe it's getting together with some friends because you haven't seen them in a while. Hey, maybe it's as simple as you wanting to lose some weight but you haven't got started. We all have these notions of things we want to accomplish. And I found that if I'm not careful, I will just plan and plan and plan to someday do something that's going to get me closer to being a published author. And nothing actually happens. 3 years in, I know this to be the case. So what I discovered, and I'm sure you've experienced this the same way, good intentions are meaningless. Intending to do something does not equal doing it. And if you stopped right now and didn't watch any more, you would have gold and you could chew on that all week. Oh, yes. Julie says, my radio show, yes, she's been talking about it, but hasn't pulled the trigger yet. And Carol is, you're reminding me, I did retire. That is absolutely an intention that turned into a plan that turned into action. And I'm leveraging what I've learned from doing that into what I'm talking about tonight. And so we've all got things that we've decided we're going to do and we've just not gotten around to doing them. It always seems like tomorrow would be better. We don't know where to start. We get so confused. We get overwhelmed, and then eventually we talk ourselves out of it and we decide, we're going to do it another day. But those good intentions are meaningless unless we take action. And this is the thing. We've all got change that we want to see happen in our lives. We want to influence our kids. We want to influence our employees. We want to influence maybe public policy. How big are your plans to influence people? How important are your plans to influence people and change them? Sandy, so glad you're here. Hi and welcome. Those great plans to change the world, whatever piece of the world that we want to change, will never happen if we don't get real about turning our intentions into actions. So that isn't rocket science. How do we do that? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So this is where we're going to start. First of all, I'm going to cover 3 keys that are the power of a plan. This is why having a plan matters. These are the 3 things that happen for you when you actually decide to make a plan. And we're going to talk about how to make that plan after we talk about the why of making a plan. This is what makes a plan so powerful. The first thing is, when you have a plan, a specific plan, you can start without being overwhelmed. How many of you have ever gone and bought furniture from IKEA? Some furniture that's inexpensive and it is easy to put together if you follow the plan. They give you instructions. I know some of you here are opposed to instructions, but if you follow the instructions from IKEA, you will have a successful finished project. I promise you. The problem comes in when you lose the instructions. And I had a sort of a bookshelf thing that I was trying so hard to put together. I had no idea where to start. It was just this pile of stuff. The key value of a plan is it tells you where to start. And the second key of having a great plan is that you can also stop. All right? Having a plan allows you to start, right? We get started because we have a plan. We know what step one is. We can start. The other piece that's so beautiful about a plan, we can stop without feeling guilty. I discovered myself this week. I had things I needed to do, and so I was putting off doing them because I knew that I shouldn't be doing that. I should be doing something else. How many of you have done that? You say to yourself, you know what? I really, really need to get started doing some research on this project, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go do this thing over here, but I don't want to do that thing over there because I really should be doing this thing over here. And then before you know it, you've been alternating between I'm not going to do this because I'd rather do that, and I'm not going to do that because I'm supposed to be doing this, and nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. Roseanne, I'm so glad to see you. Bobby, glad you're here. Thank you, Sandy, for your kind words. I love it. And Julie, I'm not going to be envious that you can put furniture together without the instructions. I'm just not going to allow that to grip me. I'm going to be glad that you have that gift. And I'm going to continue to make sure I don't lose the instructions because I do not share your talent for sure. Anyway, when we have a plan, we not only know where to start, but we also know what we're supposed to accomplish, and then we can stop. We don't get stuck in this quandary of how long do I have to be doing it? No matter what I'm doing, I feel like I ought to be doing something else. When we've got our plan written down, we know what we were supposed to do today. And then we can stop worrying and we can say, I know I've done it. It was on my list and I checked it off. And now I get to go relax. Now I get to go be present with my family at dinner. Now I get to go have a good time with my grandchildren, or go read a book, or go take a hot bath. We get to choose what to do with our time. And we free up our brain when we've had a plan that allowed us to say, and I planned to do X and I did it. Checking it off the list. Now, I'm not talking about a to-do list. That's a different thing entirely, and they're awesome. If you use them, that's good. I use them in a way. But I'm talking about a big goal with a plan that goes with it. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to construct it so that you can stop when it's appropriate and give yourself a chance to enjoy yourself. Bethany, so glad you're here. I'm so glad you were able to jump on. Welcome. All right, so number one, the power of a plan. You can start without being overwhelmed. It has a step one, and that's all you have to worry about. Everything else comes after step one. The second powerful piece of a plan is you can stop doing your plan without feeling guilty. And we get rid of that nagging feeling that says I should be doing something else. No matter what I'm doing, there's other things that are pressuring me. And then these are the three components for how to craft a good plan. All right, Let me check here before we roll into that. Julie says, no, not me. Need instructions and instruction reader and a guy to put it together. Ha. Oh, good. I misunderstood what you wrote. Thank you for clarifying. So, Julie, we are partners in progress when it comes to assembling furniture. We need all the help we can get, right? We need partners. And I'll know not to call you if I lose the instructions. So, thank you for clarifying. Okay. These are the 3 components of a good plan. You can write these down if you want. In fact, I'd recommend it. Writing things down not only helps us to remember it, but it helps it to sink down into our psyche so we integrate it more. It's different than just hearing something or seeing something. Writing it down makes all the difference. So I recommend if you've had trouble accomplishing whatever big thing it is that you wanted to accomplish, write down these 3 steps and this will help you get started. Step 1, identify the finish line. I know that seems like a strange place to start, but I don't know if you've read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, one of my favorite books. It was the first self-help book that I was ever exposed to, and I went to a few days of training that were related to it, and it was life-changing for me, so I love that book. And Stephen Covey says this, one of the 7 habits is begin with the end in mind. We have to know what the finish line looks like. So for me, this change that I want to make is to write a book. That's my finish line. My finish line is a published book. Your finish line needs to be specific. It needs to be pretty specific, not just, I want to write a book someday. No, I want to publish a book. Or perhaps I want to complete a marathon. That's the finish line. I will complete a marathon. Or I will earn the top sales award for my division. Whatever that looks like for you, you need to know the finish line before you start your plan. What's your finish line? All right, number 2. You need to assign that finish line a date if it doesn't already have one. So, for example, if you want to compete in a marathon, you're going to go to the Boston Marathon in 2021. That's a great finish line, and it's got a specific date, right? The Boston Marathon happens the same time every year. You know where you're going. You know what your target date to be finished is. It's all built in for you. Maybe you want to receive your top sales award on the platform at your national convention for your organization. That's awesome. So that's your finish line. Write that down. I want to receive the top sales award at the national convention in October of 2019. Bam. It's specific and you have a date. So now you've got a real good finish line. You know where you're going and you know how long you have to get there. Welcome, Brian. Thanks for jumping on. All right, so number 1, you need to identify your finish line. Number 2, you need to assign that finish line a date. I told you I've been planning on writing a book for several years now and never really had a firm idea of when that was going to happen. And I still didn't until a few weeks ago. And I've been mulling over this book and this idea that I've been bouncing around since actually July of 2016. And I was thinking, you know what, it's time. It's time for me to put the rubber to the road. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. It's time to do it. I made a decision. It's going to happen. And it started percolating. Within just a couple of days, I was listening to a podcast. And at the end of the podcast, the host said, he was giving an example of something to, I want to say, somebody asked him a question. And so he said, well, as an example, he said, you know, it takes about 9 months to write a book. And my ears perked up. I'm like, takes 9 months to write a book. That's interesting. I had no idea how long it took to write a book. Okay, that sounds interesting. 9 months to write a book. That might work for me. So I was percolating it, letting that simmer for just a bit, and went away to a family function. And my brother-in-law was there, and he said, sort of joking, Shannon, when are you going to write a book? Which I found totally amazing because I'd never told him I was going to. And he said, yeah, when are you going to write a book? He goes, you know what I think? He goes, I think about 9 months, you should be able to give us a book. I think you can do it. You got it in you, Shannon. Give us a book. You got 9 months. And he made a laugh. And I immediately checked my box. Okay. If I was looking for how long it takes to write a book, I just found out I'm going to give myself 9 months. So in March of 2020, my finish line is to have a published book. That's my finish line. And I'm excited to share that with you. I will be sharing pieces of my journey as I go, because as with any journey, I am sure there will be highs and lows and hiccups, and everything won't go as smoothly as what I would love, but I'm excited to do it, and I'm confident that 9 months is plenty of time to have a published book. All right, so what about you? What's your specific date? What is it that you've been putting off, thinking I'm going to do it? I'm going to launch my business. I'm going to grow my business. I'm going to start talking to more people about what I do and how I do it. I'm going to start sharing myself more. All of that's so generic, people. That isn't a plan. That isn't a plan. Well, I hope that I can get it done by, Hope is not a strategy. You need a plan. And your plan needs to have a finish line, and it needs a date assigned to that finish line. The third thing you do is you make a list of all the steps that you need to get there. All the steps. Erin Lynn Skyring, it's a pleasure to see you. Yay! I'm so glad. Oh, I see somebody wants to get into the John Maxwell Leadership Program. Julie does in August 2019. Julie, that would be awesome. We would love to have you in the John Maxwell team. Love it. Love it. Hi, Albert. I'm glad you jumped on. All right, so step 3 is you've got to make a list of all the steps that it takes to get to your finish line. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to know every single thing, but there are broad things that you know need to happen if you're going to get to the finish line. It might be as basic as what I had to do, which was Google, what are the steps to writing and publishing a book? Because I had no clue. I have no clue. I had to look it up. And fortunately, we've got the internet to help us. I've also talked with some people, and I'm going to be meeting with some other authors to find out what is involved in writing a book. But I also know there's some things that I'm going to have to do, next steps, and I can identify those right away. So you've got a broad plan. You've got a finish line. It's got a date. The broad steps that go in. If you're running a marathon, you know you're going to have to be able to build up slowly, right? You don't just start running a marathon tomorrow. If you know that you want to be the top salesperson, there's activities that you have to do. If you know what those things are, write them down and just put some numbers by them. What sensible order do those need to go in? And then you put a date by them. And I don't want you to beat yourself up if your goal is so big and so new to you that you don't even know where to start. Google it and find out where to start, and then make a plan of your next steps. I don't care if they're baby steps, but they have to be written down and they have to have a date. Otherwise, 2 things happen. All of your mental energy gets spent in worrying about, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be preparing for a marathon. I'm supposed to be writing a book. I'm supposed to be, and I'm not doing anything. And all of our mental energy just gets sucked away. Nothing productive happens. Write down those steps. Write down some dates. Even if the next step is Google how to fill in the blank. Put a date by it. January 10th, 2019. Get your plan started. Truthfully, your plan right now may only consist of 2 things: the finish line and the very next step. But that's okay. Take that next step and keep working on building that plan, step by step by step. That phrase that I've heard a million times is true no matter how many times I hear it. I don't care if you're sick of it. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And it ends with a single step. I added that on for free. Thanks, Albert. I'm glad you're loving it. We need to take the next step, and today's the day. Now's the time for you to decide. Write down that finish line and write down that next step that you know you need to take, whatever it is. Fill them in. Giselle, yay! Glad to see you, Giselle. All right. Number 4, put them in order of occurrence. Just put little numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure that you've got them in a sort of an order that makes sense, because number 6 is this. You're going to put them on a calendar. A year-long calendar. Oh, Zippy's back. You're going to put those steps on a calendar. And I'm excited to share my calendar with you. It's not quite done. I've been enjoying making it pretty and making it big, because I want my book plan to be in my face and really easy for me to see and see my progress. So I'm excited. I'll share that with you later this week. I'll probably do a Facebook Live to announce it, so keep tuned for that. But you need to be able to put those steps in some kind of an order. Don't get too hung up on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put them in a loose order. If you know that they're step by step by step, if you're going to go to get a college degree, there are some things that have to happen step by step by step, and then you've got lots of wiggle room. Get those steps in general, okay? Don't pressure yourself into having it all worked out. You can start, get a general idea, and then you can start plugging those things into a calendar. What have you been saying that you're going to do, but you never get started? Mary, I'm so glad you jumped on. Welcome. We're talking about how to make a plan and the steps to making a good plan. Sylvia, yay! Oh, Sylvia, I'm so glad you're here. This is good stuff for you, my dear. This is really good stuff. All right. I'm going to do a brief overview just for those of you who just jumped on. And you can go back and hear all of the the elaboration once I'm done. But this is what we've talked about so far. The keys to a powerful, powerful plan, why they matter so much. They help us to start without being overwhelmed. They help us to stop without feeling guilty, because when we're following our plan, we're allowed to take a break because we know it's written down. Tomorrow, I'm going to be able to get right back on and do the next step. It gives us a sense of safety. And number 3 is we can adjust as we go, because these plans aren't written in concrete. These plans aren't written in concrete. So I'm not suggesting that you get a plan and it's rigid and it's just, you're going to be just a taskmaster trying to make yourself finish. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you construct that plan, you're going to get so much value out of it that it's going to be easier for you to follow it. And this is how you make a good plan. You start with the finish line. Like Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. A published book, you want to complete a marathon, you want to be the top salesperson, whatever that is, write down your finish line and assign it a date. How long do you want to get there? Some of those things are built in. If you want to run the Boston Marathon, you want to do it in 2024, write it down. Hi, Minnie. I'm glad you're here, Minnie. Woo-hoo. I love my John Maxwell peeps jumping on. All right. So you identify your finish line. You assign the finish line a date. You make a list of the steps that you know. And if you don't know the steps to get there, you can Google it, and that's your first step. Google the steps to writing a book. The internet's a beautiful thing. All right, make a list of the steps, then go through and number them in a loose order of occurrence, the order they need to be. And then I'm suggesting that you take a couple of hours. This isn't something that is going to happen that fast. It's going to require some introspection. Hey! It's going to require some introspection, some reflection. It's going to require a little bit of focus. But you can take those steps and you can decide, how long will it take me to do XYZ? And then you put it on your calendar. How long am I going to give myself to do XYZ? And you put it on your calendar. It is the very rare person indeed who wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be an astronaut. And then they just, bam, set off on the path and they get there. There's some strategy involved. There's some planning involved. My sister Brandy, who's watching, yay, I'm so glad she's here. My sister Brandy and her husband decided that they wanted to move to Florida. And they had a lot of big blocks in their lives that had to be rearranged. They had to, well, he has a job in Indianapolis. He had to talk to his employer and say, Would I be able to telework? Would I be able to fly in? How could I move to Florida and still work here? And his company was more than happy to work with him because they value what he does. But he had to take that bold step. The first step, we can't go if I don't have a job. Turns out he still has a job. Awesome. What's the next step? And bit by bit by bit, they've put their house up for sale. They sold it. They packed all their belongings. And this weekend, they loaded that stuff up into moving vans, and they had a caravan. Every one of the drivers in their family has a car with only room for them in it because it is so filled with their stuff. And they are on their way to Florida. Well, actually, they're there. They're looking in the windows of their new home in Florida because they don't get the keys until tomorrow. It's exciting, but it was a plan, and it had to have steps. It would have never happened if they just sat around and said, you know what, we'd like to move to Florida. Julie, if you really want to move to Florida, my dear, you can. You absolutely can. And if I really want to write a book, I can. Rose, the goal, move to Florida. Oh, something to think about, eh? Yeah, Florida sounds good. And now that I have even more family down there, it sounds even better. So that's it, you guys. That's what I wanted to share with you. You can make a plan, and it is going to help you so much. You won't beat yourself up. You know, I really ought to be doing more with my life. Get a plan. I can help you with that. If you've got some questions or comments, keep throwing them in the comment feed here. I love to read them, love to follow up on them. All Sunday evening, I get myself something cold to drink and sit down with Zippy the cat, and we have a lovely time. Hi, Isabel. One last thing as I'm rounding up. If you haven't done it already, go and like my Facebook page, Support Life with Shannon LaBruyere. I would love it. Rose, I love you too. Thank you for being here. The next thing is, if you want to see some of the past episodes of Sunday Night Live or hear them, you can go to YouTube and search Shannon LaBruyere, and you will be able to see the past episodes. And you can also sign up to follow it, and it will alert you when the new one's posted, so that's always good. And the last thing I want to remind you of is I am thinking about putting together a fun mastermind group coaching group where we talk about self-leadership. There'd be some one-on-one coaching in the midst of a group setting, so it's not as private, but it's certainly fun to be able to bounce ideas off of people. And we do that on a conference, on Zoom conferencing, and I'm thinking about doing it on Saturday mornings from 8 in the morning till 9. Or I might do it in an evening if it works out better. But if you're interested in learning about self-leadership and participating in the coaching process, surrounded by a few people that are committed to growth, I would love to hear from you. Just put that in the comments that you'd be interested, and I'll make sure that you get notified if and when I decide to do it. I'm looking for 5 people to commit, and no more than 10, because I don't want it to be too big, because I want us to be able to have good conversations. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. Don't have a lot of plans on it yet, but if it's something that you'd like, I'd love to follow up, and we'll get you some more information. All right, Julie, I'm glad you're loving the live streams. And let me see. Ooh, Albert in Nairobi. Yes, Albert wants to be an author too. Albert, yes, we can support each other. Yes, that's awesome. There is a fee. Julie, it's going to be about $25. It'll last 3 weeks. We'll have like 3 weeks on and then 1 week off, and then we'll see if I do another one or not, because I've never tried anything just like this. But I thought it might be a great way for people to be able to experience the coaching process without having to spend a lot of money up front, without ever having done it before. I've had a lot of coaching, and I've invested a lot of money in coaching. Coaching has changed my life. And one coach that I had in particular 3 years ago is why I'm considering writing a book now, because of that powerful experience. But I also know that if people have never done it, getting to know that process and learning about it, I think that it's good to kind of tiptoe in and get started. So I'm going to make it real reasonable so people can do it. Yeah, Julie, so I'll count you in for sure. Sylvia, yes, there's 2. Good. This will be really, really fun. Yeah, I'm excited about it. So I'm going to flesh it out. I'm going to talk more about the plan as I unfold my beautiful step-by-step plan for my book. And I'll be showing you on Facebook Live. And Shay, I'm not sure what the letter V means, but V for victory, V for Victoria. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe it was an emoji. I don't know. I know you'll clarify though. You guys are awesome. This is so wonderful to be able to get on here and chat with you guys. I love it and I love you. I'm so honored to be a part of your life. So stay tuned for information about that 3-week self-leadership group coaching. V for victorious. I love that even better. Good job, Julie. Good job. All right. You guys are amazing. I look forward to seeing you next week. Oh, Carol's in too. So, oh my gosh, we're going to be at 5 before you know it. It's going to be awesome. Yay! You guys, I love you. You're amazing. And hold on, let me see if I can show you Zippy. This is what Zippy decided to do. So there's Zippy's contribution to Sunday Night Live. She wasn't riveted. You guys, I love you. Have a good night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.